I really shouldn't be doing things like with increases when I'm talking, but that is not a lesson I'm gonna learn today. Thanks Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Hi you guys, welcome here. If you're new here, my name's Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Love Knits. I wanted to sit down and knit and chat today while I have a little bit of time. No knitwear today. Sorry. I'm also baking bread, so I'm expecting to go down and take the top off of my Dutch oven at some point while we're talking. So we're gonna be multitasking today. But you know how it is when the baby's like kind of in a weird schedule, you're not really sure what's gonna happen, whether... Yeah. Some days are hit or miss. The days that Arthur goes to his grandparents, he goes sometimes twice a week, sometimes less. But those days, Noah takes 2 naps. And then on the days that Arthur's here with us, he takes 1. So I guess it's just because Arthur's up or Arthur's here, he's keeping Noah awake and like entertained. Noah doesn't want to miss out. It's like impossible to get him to go down for 2 naps. So I thought we were on the 1 nap schedule completely. But no, it seems like a little recurring theme that every time Arthur's away, Noah's like, okay, I'll take that first and second nap now, which is really funny. So when things are like that, you know, you kind of just have to be ready for anything. So I'm seizing an opportunity here. And so hopefully we have enough time to chat about what I would like to get to today. But first I would like to introduce a project. So, where to begin? So I wanted to introduce my new project by first showing you the completed Holar sweater that I have, that I made for Arthur. This is just the most fun project. It's just super scrappy, super fun. I had the most amazing time working it up. It flew off the needles and it was just like Russian roulette of color. And I don't know, I just had a really good time with it. It really brought me joy. But once it was over, I was ready to work on another striped project almost immediately. The thing about stripes is, and especially when you work something so colorful, I don't feel like I'm getting tired of them. I just want to knit more of them, which is really interesting. So I have this beautiful sweater now that I have to actually weave in all of the ends. So it's done, but it's been in this state since like 2 weeks now. I really have to go through. I did my best to like knot them all and now I just need to like trim. But I do want to like double check to make sure that it's not going to fall apart, because that would be super tragic. But I should do it. I should get it done and block it, because I also haven't done the same for the other Holar sweater, the Very Hungry Caterpillar sweater. I made both of those and I have 2 little nails where I've been hanging some handmade items in their room, and these 2 sweaters have just been living there, kind of like artwork, because they are. Handmade knitwear is also artwork too. So one last look at it, it's just absolutely gorgeous. But again, I was just randomly putting things together, not really giving a lot of thought. Sometimes I would ask my husband like what color should go next. Sometimes I would ask Arthur. And as long as it wasn't a color I was already working on, I went ahead and did it. And the most amazing thing happened. I got really inspired by a lot of different sequences in this sweater. In particular, I really love the back. This top bit right here, all of this is really lovely. It's only a little bit different on the front because the front yoke was just worked in different colors, but then I joined underneath and worked it all the same. So the last colors underneath the armpit are all the same front and back, but I just really love the back yoke. The color sequence that I did here is really beautiful. But I discovered a sequence of stripes, sequence of colors that I would love for myself. So I don't know if I would ever be as bold as to have an entire sweater randomly selected for myself, like in my size. If I had something similar to this, I would certainly love working on it, but I don't really know how much I would love to grab for it, to put it on. But it might surprise me, I don't know. But here, in particular, this sequence of colors really made me happy. And I just really loved starting from this Orchard Plum, this purple, all the way down to this cream color. So from here down to here, I just loved the way that those colors looked together. And I thought that they would suit me nicely. There's a little bit of, I think it was a nice like play on a rainbow, but not like too out there. And I could really see myself wearing a striped sweater like that. So I used this sweater as basically a swatch for the latest project on my needles, which is the Holar Sweater by Petite Knit. The Holar Sweater is a pattern that I've had in my library since it was released, which I think is about like 4 years ago, maybe at this point, even 5. It's an old pattern of Petite Knits, and honestly, an underrated one at that, because I went down the rabbit hole on the hashtag trying to see different color combinations and just how it kind of fit on the body to kind of decide what I wanted for my sweater, like which size I was gonna knit, and it's a really nice fit. And the construction is completely different from a lot of the other patterns that I've done by Petite Knit, and that's kind of a theme. I think for a little while she was really into the saddle shoulder construction, because there's also the terrazzo sweater that I thought I had in my library, but I actually don't, and I really, really love that sweater as well. I think that one's also a saddle shoulder, and I think they were released around the same time. So I was really excited because of the striped theme that I'm kind of going on here, but then also because there's like that extra element to it that I can try something else. Before we really get down to chatting about this yarn, I want to tell you about Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build an online presence. With Squarespace, you can start a website tailored to your needs with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. They have professionally curated layouts and styling options that would work well for your brand, and they are optimized for every device. With their integrated SEO tools, you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. I think Squarespace is a must-use platform if you're selling knitting patterns or even just interested in sharing your hard work. I've been working with them for years and I have no complaints so far. So check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use my code to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And I was very confident after seeing the sequence here in the Holar sweater. I was like, okay, these colors look really nice together. They're going to be wonderful. And this was all the swatch that I needed. I was very confident in that. And then I got started. And the funny thing about stripes is that you really just have to hold on. You really have to trust the process as you're knitting them up, because each color really changes the way that the sweater feels. And when I started, once I got to the red, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like a McDonald's sweater. And then I got to the purple and I was like, oh gosh, this is just really rich colors. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. And then I got to the gray and I was like, this is making it worse. Finally, I went to the green and it really just made all the colors pop in some way. Each color, I think, brings its own necessary hue. And yeah, altogether, I think it's really starting to look good. Now that I'm getting on the other stripes, like repeating the stripes, whew, I was breathing a sigh of relief. I was like, okay, I'm getting it. This is looking how I was imagining it was gonna look. So you can't be but so hasty. Oh no! Did I lose I think I lost a stitch marker along the way, but you know, that happens. Right, so I am working on this sweater in tandem with the other cast on that I shared with you guys in my last video, the Maggie cardigan. And there is a reason why I don't knit on too many things at once, because I sat down after a long day with this project, and I had been working on the Maggie cardigan, I guess, before then. And so I was looking through the notes of the sweater and trying to figure out where I left off. And the stitch count on what the pattern was saying was completely off by rows and rows and rows. I had done double the amount of increases than I was supposed to. And I started freaking out oh my gosh, this whole time I've been just making increases incorrectly. Like, this is just wild. So I got so upset that I was just like, I'm not gonna frog this right now. Thank God I didn't frog it right then. But like, I was just like, okay, this is going in timeout. I'm putting it back up in the stash and I'm gonna grab the Maggie cardigan and get started on it. And the whole time, it wasn't until I got that project down and started working on it that I was like, oh, I was looking at the Maggie cardigan instructions for the sleeves, not for the sleeves of the Holar sweater. So there's a reason why I don't do so many projects at once. I know that it would probably be smart for me to print out the instructions and have hard copies of it. It's just, I don't like having all that paper around, and it gets crumpled and taken away and who knows what. So I just prefer to have everything on my phone, but there are drawbacks to that certainly too. That made me go a little crazy there for a second, because I was just like, am I really that clocked out that I was not paying attention this whole time for days, where I was just working on the increases of this sweater, like finishing up the yoke? Like, really? I wasn't focused like that whole time? That's wild to me. So luckily that wasn't the case, because I was really gonna check if I was okay, you know, like, girl, are you okay? Because you might need some help. I thought this sweater would be an appropriate project for the topic of today's chat. I checked over on the Google form that I've shared with you guys. I have a little link that I'm going to be adding to the descriptions of my video. You can just leave me a little note or like a topic suggestion. And so I had a look at some of the responses, and one of them I thought was going to be a really good chat. I've seen a lot of content lately accusing knitting/knitting content creators of being boring, stockinette sweaters in neutral tones from big name designers. My thoughts is that if someone knits something that they are going to get a lot of wear out of or really loves, who cares if it's boring? Wondering your thoughts on this. When I created this channel and like the mission that I was going to have with it, when I was really like strict on that kind of branding, I really wanted to, my tagline was make what you love, and I wanted to make things for my closet that I was going to get a lot of wear out of. The funny thing about that is that tastes change, and you know, just because you love the, I'm having myself a crisis, if you will, or like an internal struggle about that too. Like, while I really love gray sweaters, do I need another gray sweater? And I'm getting pulled in two different directions about, do I want my crafting time to be playful, or do I want it to be very serious? At some point you have to ask yourself, like, are you enjoying it? Because as important as it is to get a lot of wear out of something, does that actually bring you joy? Because I think at some point, for me, I'm discovering a balance is really important there, because I enjoyed projects like this so much more than I thought I would. But I think if you would have asked me a couple of years ago, like 3 years ago when I first started this channel, would I have made a sweater like this? No, because I couldn't visualize myself wearing it. And I think that's more and less important to me now, because I want to have a balance. And I think it's really important to be able to wear the sweaters, but there are some people who don't actually like to wear their knitwear at all, says the woman who's not wearing her knitwear today. I think there's a general trend. Let me know what you guys are thinking, what you're observing, but I think there's a general trend to kind of just reject gray altogether. And I think that's definitely Gen Z looking at millennials being like, why are you guys just completely obsessed with the color gray? I don't know what it is. As a millennial myself, I can tell you that I gravitate towards everything that's gray, and it has, I guess, as a result of this trend, I'm really hyper-focused on what I'm welcoming into my house, or like what I'm gravitating towards, especially buying a house recently. Trying to decorate with what I already have, I noticed that I've got a lot of gray stuff, And it's not actually always great to have gray because it just makes your house feel cold. And that, for me, is just making me want to welcome more color. And so I do see, maybe it was when this whole influence, I mean, social media plays a huge role in like everything, whether you believe it or not. And so just the fact that someone that you follow says like, hey, I'm rejecting gray and that's boring. It kind of subliminal on some level in your brain, you're starting to now be more aware of that and think, well, yeah, maybe this person is right. I do have a lot of gray. So over the last year, I have noticed myself as a result of this trend, most likely, but who knows? Maybe it's just like a collective conscious thing. We're all just waking up to the fact that we've been gray for the last like 10 years. Because that started in like 2014 or something. There is no doubt in my mind that time and again, working on a gray sweater or something a little bit more neutral will serve my wardrobe a lot better. But there is a balance that needs to be had, I think, with the fun as well. And I'm learning what that means for me. And I think it's really important for me to have fun too, and to have this kind of experimentation. Going back to what I said at the very beginning, I think this is more tied to the brand that these people have created. And from a knitwear designing perspective, if you stick with neutral tones, people are gonna maybe focus more on the design, the construction of the sweater and the techniques that you used, more so than the yarn. But I think the yarn, actually, if we observe some of the other designers, like Bethany, for example, she just released, she does a really good job, I think, of having really out there colors and more neutral, so you can get a wide range. And I think she's also a designer who does like one in a neutral tone and one in a more out there tone. And that way you can kind of see from both sides, okay, yeah, it could work both ways. It can be really fun and I can be really playful with this, or I can play it safe and have a really nice closet staple. So I think that's a really good technique. But if you observe the Scarlet sweater, or there's like this bright red sweater that was just released by Petite Knit, and I mean, that yarn is gorgeous. So using yarn to really, but if you look, yeah, so that yarn is gorgeous. And if you look at the sweater itself, it's pretty plain. But the selling point and the thing that really catches your eye on Instagram is the fact that it's a bright red, beautiful sweater. So sometimes playing and using yarn that's really luxurious and really eye-catching, it's all marketing, guys. It's all marketing. It's really just the knitwear designer piece of it anyway. I think it's all just a way to get people excited about a project or like a sweater and to sell a pattern. You can do it both ways. You can present the product as a closet staple and have it more casual and neutral, or you can present the project as like a luxurious, eye-catching piece, an eye-catching, what am I trying to say? like a statement piece. Yes, a statement piece with a really bold color. That's kind of how I see it. Now, do these people deserve criticism? No. Again, like, your aesthetic is your aesthetic. You can't really blame someone for liking to dress a certain way. If they're boring to you, maybe you just shouldn't follow them. I think that's a huge thing as well. Like, you don't actually have to follow every single person in the knitting community, you know? Like, you can decide like what works for you and what doesn't. My perspective on it now, I think, is a huge shift in where I'm at with my knitting journey as it is. Because I don't have as much time on the needles, I want it to be something that I'm really engaged in. And I find myself with stripes in particular. Stripes are something that I really love to work on because it keeps me really engaged with my needles. I'm using knitting as a way to be creative, which is always the case, but in particular now I notice that There are some projects that make me keep knitting, and there are other projects that make me go on my phone. And stripes are not one of those things. Stripes, I have all the entertainment I need. It keeps me focused on what I'm doing. My attention span is in check, and I am really focused on what's on the needles. At some point with the Jenny sweater, while the texture pattern really helped me at the very beginning, once I got over it, the gray, it was just kind of like, ugh, not as engaging. And so I was spending a lot of those nights procrastinating, doing other things, namely being on my phone. Okay, I think they stopped banging. So my neighbor is having some construction done at their house. So I think now is not a time for me to be chatting. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. I really appreciate you guys sitting down and chatting with me. And if you are interested in sharing topics similar like the one that we talked about today, definitely check out that Google form link down in the description. I would love to hear from you. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.